The Russian gaming industry is in kind of difficult situation. On the one hand, mobile market is pretty much okay. But meanwhile, the situation on the free-to-play games market for PC and console is kind of grim. New successful games are not being created because managers are afraid to approve anything original, so developers thrive off with old IPs. The government tries to support game development, but the results are weak. Because if you're taking money from them, you must be ready for a lot of bureaucracy and restrictions. Also, developers don't need to return the money, so they don't have to try hard. The main example is a game called Smuta with a budget around $10 million. And this game itself had a horrible reviews. Also, the Russian government is trying to create its own gaming console. But based on available information, situation it's not bad. It's terrible. They are trying to find some cheap Chinese hardware, change its name, and sell this as entirely new product for true patriots. Meet the main character of our video, Wargaming. Yeah, company is from Belarus, but it had a close ties with Russia and lots of Russian employees. But after the war with Ukraine in 2022, Wargaming decided to leave Russia. But there was one little problem. The game's main audience was in the CIS, so the company split World of Tanks into two versions, a global one and the version for Russia. These versions were supported by different teams, and this was even reflected in their content. As an example, different collaborations. And here's another company, Lista Games. They had been acquired by Wargaming a long time ago, but gained a formal independence in 2022, and they were behind of the Russian version of World of Tanks. The split was likely done to keep the brand active in Russia during sanctions, with the possibility of reunification in the future. Lesta Games had a license to operate a World of Tanks in Russia, but was considered as a separate company that almost never interacted with Wargaming. But then that happened. A canon event of our timeline, when Viktor Kisley, the head of Wargaming, donated to the armed forces of the Ukraine a couple of years ago, which became a reason for claims in Russia. On June 3, 2025, the court of Moscow found Kisley and the head of Lesta Games guilty of creating an extremist association. After that, all 100% of Lesta's assets were transferred to the state. On the one hand, it seems fine, but on the other hand, we have several facts that complicate the matter. Fact number 1. Lesta Games earned 35 billion rubles in last year, which was a recordly high for the company. Fact number 2. A few months ago, Game Capital approached the head of Lesta Games with an offer to buy business, but was refused for the obvious reasons. And fact number 3. Lesta Games followed all possible Russian laws and even made donations to support Russia in this war. And lots of people see and think that this is a business takeover, which is, to be honest, a pretty common thing in Russia. And the worst part is the fact that it creates a precedent where a successful video game company can be nationalized. You see, the investors don't really like to put the money in the countries where their business can be simply taken away. The situation is even more absurd considering that many Russian developers are already aware of this thing, so they usually register their business in other countries. Saber Interactive, the guys who made Warhammer Space Marine 2, you know, one of the best received games in last year, are considered as an American company, while developments of Atomic Heart or Rogue Trader are registered in Cyprus. In this regard, the situation with Cyprus is already quite absurd. You know, I lived there for a while because I'm game developer too, and I heard the Russian speech more often than Greece or Turkish. In short, if anyone was expecting for a AAA games from Russia, this won't happen. At least for the next decade or two. Thank you for watching. This topic was pretty interesting for me, because I'm game developer too, and also I hope it wasn't that hard for you to listen my speech. Anyway, thank you again, and goodbye.